why robot sex is evil.
Yeah, why it's not right.
Yeah, I think we need to...
Address.
Obviously, Babylon is promoting that, right?
Yeah.
Have you seen, like, how, like, they put it in movies? So that's the teaser. We're going to get into that. I want to tie down that loop with Brett Favre, is that how did he say it? Do you Brett Favre, like, impersonate him?
Oh, man. I can't remember how he said it word for word. It's only like...
He said, shout out to those of you... shout out... It's basically he's saying, hey, shout out to you guys that this is a bad Zionist operation. He went Zionist, which is... That's like blasphemy in Babylon, that anybody's that they're on TV, they're literally having loyalty oaths to Israel. But it's a false Israel. So Nehemiah was a righteous Jew. So we're down with the Jews. We love all 12 tribes. We got to unite the tribes. That's what's up. And we have been fighting from a severe disadvantage because we haven't known our identity. We don't know what to do. And we don't even know why it's important to be moral. Right? We don't even know what is moral. It's Babylon. So you watch TV and they show you all these people. They're basically actors. They're paid to say things. So they're a type of robot.
Yeah.
And they've lost their spirit. Because we've been domesticated for so long. We've been castrated, and we have trauma-based mind control, like in all this idolatry and Stockholm syndrome. People defending the very system that enslaves them, worshiping. It's we worship parasites. Yeah. So we're all working. We built a pool today. I was going to use your fake name again, Brett Favre.
Yeah, we built a pool today. So
yeah, it's Mike, right? Shout out. Who's? Can you read the names there?
Oh God, I can't see anything. Do you want to?
Tammy Hill in this call. I don't know who that is.
Maybe.
So anyway, Babylon is promoting robots like mad. It's part of a transhuman agenda. But if you're not aware of that whole mindset, I was basically reflecting upon my own evil past. And when you're growing up and you're all full of hormones, if they show a bunch of movie shows where they normalize that, they make robots look attractive.
Yeah.
Like the term 20-year plan. And their 10 or 20-year plan is to turn us into robots, or to replace us with robots, and to get us to be even more domesticated than we are right now. Because in a slave system, you need to be able to, suppress revolts. You need the ideal control system, and they literally have. Are you familiar with the Georgia Guidestones? Mm-hmm. Up in Georgia, they have this monument where they say the ideal population of the planet is 500 million people, which means 90% of the population of the human beings on the earth has to be culled, right? That's why they do the poisoning of the food and the water, right? So anyway, that's where all this goes. And if you know what their agenda is, you can see components of their agenda. And part of that is hypersexualizing the men and women. Just hypersexualizing the whole society, where if you even think 100 years ago, the women wore complete dresses to the beach.
Oh, wow.
In the United States. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about like burqas in the Middle East and all that kind of stuff. I'm talking about
full-on dresses, huh?
Yeah, and they used to have a dude who'd run around with a measuring tape over time. Because on movies, they would show them more scandalous, right? Because the movie industry has always been controlled by the synagogue of Satan, the imposters, right? So they're always hypersexualizing the society, because a society which is hypersexualized, it's a type of idolatry of the physical. It's like, you know what I mean? Wherever you're like just scanning for women. You know what I mean? If you think like a wolf or like some kind of predator where, you know what I mean? Where they're scrapping it out for top wolf or top lion.
Oh, yeah.
Or, you know what I mean? It's all about fight and flight and food and fornicate.
Yeah.
So when they keep us at a base level where it's very carnal, just survival, food, water, shelter, and then scrapping over money for, you know what I mean? Like, just like that.
Yeah, they want to keep you entertained.
Yeah, and then the work is so miserable, you need an outlet, and then they feed you some more propaganda as a relief to make you feel better, and then they slurry that up with some alcohol.
Oh yeah.
Right? And then increasingly the girls dress less and less covered up at the beach and everywhere else, till it comes to a point where it's just like a competition to see what the least you can possibly wear.
Yeah, what you can get away with.
Yeah,
basically, especially for the younger girls too, and it's what they're being trained to become.
Yeah, so like in a way, you have human beings, like we're in Tampa Bay, and there's strip clubs all over the place here.
Everywhere here.
All over the place. And and in fact, in my own lifetime, I would go, I attended brothels. We would go on trips to Vegas for that sole purpose. As evil, because when you awaken, truly awaken, not to be a libertarian, because unfortunately libertarians think generally that, that's the free market, just legalize the prostitution, and that is the sign of a good society, when in fact it's a sign of a society which has been conquered. Because your daughters, you're selling your daughters for sex. They're being sold for sex.
Yeah.
Never mind all of there's all these people that are complaining about child trafficking and kidnapping for sex and all that, which is evil, right?
Yeah.
But there's just like, we're just gonna let the porn everywhere go. We're just gonna let the porn everywhere on the internet, everywhere in society. It's in the malls, it's in the movies. It's just like, we can't win that. And the reason why we can't win that is because of the money system.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. That's the way a tiny minority is able to manipulate such an enormous disparities in number. You know what I mean? We overwhelmingly, the human beings, the debt slaves, we're all just a bunch of debt slaves, but we're all chasing money.
Yeah.
And there's a whole bunch of money behind the whole transhuman thing. There's all this investment in the brainwashing and the movies and the programming in Terminator movies and the Matrix, and you know what I mean? Like, what was the movie you're saying?
Oh, John Wick. That was the movie we were watching today.
Yeah.
But that guy was making those points about the two different sides, the left wing,
the religions.
right wing. Yeah.
Yeah, and they basically describe in the video we watched and listened to.
We were talking about gangs in New York too, how they were both on the same Irish.
Yeah, they're Irish
fighting each other.
They're the Irish that were homegrown.
Yeah.
Fighting the Irish which just landed.
Yep.
Because they viewed it that they had fought for the country in previous wars, like in the Revolution and this and that these incoming Irish were their arch enemies, so much they're just like fighting with a
butcher's knife.
Yeah.
Like crazy stuff.
Like, it's so, like, we've been so domesticated, it's like so difficult to even imagine. That's what they did right in their own little neighborhood.
It was probably frowned on to actually use a gun, to attack somebody. You kind of probably.
I don't think they had it. Like, they were broke, or you know what I mean? It's like they were so poor. This is what they had. They're just off the boat, so they fought old school, man.
Yeah.
Like, just nuts.
Whatever they could, yeah, with their hands.
Yeah, and all at the same time, and during this Gangs of New York thing, they had the Civil War was actually going on.
Yeah.
Right? So, and then back then, when you fought, those guys would draw guns at one another at where you could see the other guy's face.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You could see if from
under their eyes.
Yeah. Where you're seeing in direct line of sight the impact of the warring. It was just brutal. If you get shot in the knee, you might lose your whole leg most of the time.
Right.
Right? It's just
Back then, yeah.
Yeah, so the kind of the whole way we got on this is how did we get so domesticated?
Yeah.
Where we became house cats today, where compared to think of a cat. Like cats, like if cats can go figure it out and live wild.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? They can just go right back into it.
Yeah.
They're like,
Yeah, they don't have to.
Yeah, if you don't want to feed me, dude, I got other options.
Yeah. Go kill something, Yeah.
I kill mouse. It's all good.
I'll eat a mouse. Lizards, They go after them lizards, boy.
Right.
They love them.
Yeah. So we're like that. We're just backtracking the conversation and how we got to how do we get on this robots versus prostitute? Like, what's more evil?
What's two evils of the?
Yeah, what's more evil? And I'm like, man, I think about what a significant portion of my life that I didn't think it was evil. Reason being, I remember when I was like 15 years old or so, that they used to have this after-school special thing. It was like an hour-long movie, and it was like parents' relationship with their kids or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
And I remember this one episode where the dad bought his 16-year-old son a prostitute.
Wow.
And then there's another movie called Risky Business.
Yeah.
And like Animal House. And I'm just thinking about all the movies where, like, as if it's not enough, where you're hypersexualized just to be a guy to begin with. They're showing you all these movies where it's just, dude, this is just a competition.
Yeah.
You know what I
This
mean?
is the norm now. Yeah.
This is, hey, it's a free for all. Like that's what I'm watching on TV, and you'd hear, like, conversations here or there on the other side. If you're in a church, you say, oh, no, like, you're not supposed to have sex before you're married. But the whole culture, everywhere I looked, it looked like, well, it sure looks like all the girls are dressed up and they're not against the idea.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not like they're
about it.
Yeah, it's not like they're dressing like the Amish. So the whole society becomes hypersexualized. And it's hard to even imagine. Like, there's looks like she works in a convenience store. Like, everything is tight fitting.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can guess the weight just by how tight the clothes are.
Yeah.
Well, in an Amish society, they're all wearing like a puffed up dress.
Black dress, yeah. Not really looking at their bodies or what the shape of them is.
Yeah, and they got a bonnet on, and it's like, we can't even imagine. Just imagine. By the way, it's in Florida. I don't even know, practically, because it's so hot. It's like you just got to leave here you'd have to stay home for about 4 months.
Out of the year, yeah.
Because
the heat is so intense.
Yeah, they'd have to make some maybe with the big puffed up, they'll have like the new technology to ventilate it.
Yeah.
Like, so that's the good thing. You're covered up in dresses, and I have this running struggle where in my own family, like, how do we all, including myself, start dressing more covered up? Because it's the men too. Because the men are wearing tight jeans and like tight fitted shirt, whereas back in the day it was much more covered up. It wasn't all about the physicality. It was all about the spiritual. If you go way back, before you're conquered, those guys that hadn't been conquered, like during the Exodus, they all worked for Yah. They didn't work for Pharaoh. They didn't have the NFL. It was everything they did was their tribe. And when that's how we initially got on this. We were talking about Sabbath, and the point of Sabbath is to have a time where all of that Babylon is taken away, where it's completely demonetized. That there is no market. You don't go where there is a market, because in Babylon everything is for sale. Yeah. Every single thing, and everything. We all prostitutes. And the mother of the prostitutes, meaning the creator of the prostitute system, is the money power. You know what I mean? Because that's the thing that you're selling your soul for. If you control the silver, people will sell themselves for 30 pieces of silver. But yeah, like, did you see any of those movies, like Risky Business?
Oh yeah.
Right. So you're like a teenager, like, man, he made a bunch of money and he's hanging out with a bunch of hot girls.
Oh yeah.
Win-win.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, where's this class?
Right. Yeah,
I'm like, maybe there's like some better stuff. Because, like, I'm just looking at it from a practical kind of standpoint. Like, what's a better... That's a good deal. And by the way, I'm having the mindset, like, wonder, is that a normal thing that dads do that? They get you a prostitute, but the dads never say it, so it's like a secret that you don't find out till you're 16?
Yeah.
Literally, because that's how it was kind of made to be in that movie, whatever that TV series was. And man, does that ever take you off, and you add alcohol to it, into how much pain and just like stuff you regret in your life.
Yeah.
What all surrounded.
When you're young.
Right, all surrounded. I'm 54.
Yeah.
How old are you?
47.
47, Brett Favre.
Yeah.
I think you got a couple more years, dude.
Probably.
Shout out to Brett Favre, man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna high-five you for Brett Favre. That's what we should do.
That's funny.
So yeah, like, answering the primary question is, like, from my point of view, I didn't think that it would be evil to be with prostitutes, but now that I know that it's a sign, it's a symbol of a society which has been conquered. It's been, because think of in gangs in New York, right? If you tried to turn, like, you're the one, like the new ones versus the old ones, if you're trying to turn their daughters, they know that you're the other team, and you're trying to seduce them, or you're trying to turn them into their prostitutes, they're not going to let that happen. You know, that's a symbol that you've been conquered, and we don't even discuss it in our society. It's never framed in that context. Race mixing is a sign that your society, your tribe, has been conquered. Right?
Yeah.
So if you're in Italy, or like Crete or Sicily or whatever, there's a movie where they talked about that, where they were laughing at the Sicilians because they're dark skinned, and they're blaming on it. They're taunting the other guy because because the Moors came in and had sex with your daughters. So he was mocking. It was an Italian basically mocking another Italian.
Yeah. Because
they got their ass beat
by the Moors.
Right. Because all that mocking, now we do it in football. We do it in sports. Or we do it in politics.
Right.
Right? Because Babylon framed the things that we're supposed to fight over and put our male energy into. Put it into porn. Put your male energy into the Dallas Cowboys. That's what it was for me. Or the Marine Corps, or my fraternity, Sigma Phi Epsilon, right? And so anyway, we would go, I'm trying to frame how evil I am, is I would organize prostitute trips. There's a word for it, and I can't think of the whore junkets. You know what I mean? Like, so what I'm trying to do is come clean and explain my transformation from going the cheerleader, like the guy setting it up, right? Organizing it, paying for it, all of it, as deep evil as you can go. Now to saying, now that I understand my Marine side, so like, well, I got angry after 9/11, and I said, like, I got to figure this out, and this is my real life's purpose, is to fight these guys. It wasn't to go fight in the Cold War. That's what I volunteered for. And they take that male wanting service to a tribe, right? Because the police and the military, I'm not saying all of them, and meaning you get in there and you know it's corrupt and you stay in longer just because of the money or whatever. Like, I can't see how anybody that's in the military today doesn't understand, number one, the real life evidence, the outcome of what you're doing is just a social program. By integrating women at all into your army, you are rebelling from the creator of the heavens and the earth. You are rebelling. That's feminism. It wasn't that way even 50 years ago. My mother volunteered for the Korean War. But going back before that, if you roll it back into the Civil War, You know, there's people that snuck in here and there, but generally, it was a man's fight. And the men stood up before there was all of this social program because it was tribal. If somebody was poisoning your property, there's like, you know, think of the two rival Irish guys.
Yeah.
If the guys upstream start poisoning the water, just like Babylon does this today,
yeah.
or they poison the air and they poison the food and they kill the animals and they use control of food just like the Soviets did in order to cull the population. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, they're doing all this stuff. And what are we doing? Like, we're going to work today for the very same guys that are doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because, you know, I've been happier to hang. You know, I had a good time hanging out with you today.
Oh,
we had
yeah.
a good pool, right?
Yeah.
We build pools. We're not like professional YouTubers, right? Because so few people care about any of this stuff because they're freaking cowards. And that's the whole thing is for the guys to get together and all of that. Like when we hang out, we were talking about going to reggae concerts.
Yeah, reggae rise up.
Yeah. So here's the thing: is we want you guys. We're gonna go to Reggae Rise Up on Sunday, whatever the date is, in St. Pete, right?
Yeah.
So we want to have a meetup. We're setting it up right now, dude. We're going, right?
Oh yeah.
Meet Brett Favre. Brett Favre will be there giving autographs.
Reggae rise up. Yeah.
Dude, he'll throw the football with the kids.
Oh yeah. And toss the
Wear your
pigskin
Packers
around.
jersey, whatever. It's all good.
Whatever
It's
you
all
got.
good.
Make sure it's green.
Are you a Packers fan?
Yeah.
Oh, were you before Brett Favre?
Well, I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio.
Oh, you should be a Browns fan.
He's always had a terrible team until this year, so yeah, I'm still a Browns fan. But I do follow.
Yeah, but was it a Brett Favre thing?
Yeah, I liked Brett Favre back then. Yeah. I don't know. I got told I looked like him a lot, so.
You played hockey.
Yeah, I played hockey more than football.
Right. Think how I wasn't ever a hockey guy, but there's been a couple days recently where I've gone playing with my kids out in the fields around my house. Like, and it's important for all of us to get this mindset of men. Just get into your play mode, and you're playing with your kids, and you're just running around. And I sword fight with my son.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, on guard, good sir. Prepare to defend your honor.
Nice.
And because I want him to think of himself as Simba in The Lion King. It's your job to go take back what's stolen, and I can't teach him that unless I do it myself.
Right.
So I get amped up. So when I hang out with Mike, I try to get him amped up too, because it really is just a confidence game. The whole thing, the entire Babylonian deception is just a confidence game. And whoever issues the money, they'll have the most confidence. And they'll get the most confidence because they're the one that will control the rewards system.
Yeah.
The system, it's just, they set up a monopolized reward system. So we're all chasing the piece of papers like little controlled, domesticated hamsters in a wheel just that grows banks. The more you run on the wheel, the banks grow taller and taller, you know?
Yeah. It's crazy.
And the politicians' noses get bigger and bigger.
Oh yeah, Pinocchio's.
Yep. Hey, you got to tell me where the turn is because I don't
it's
have
coming
the
up.
GPS.
You got a couple streets coming up after this next light.
So anyway,
Well, it's not this one.
all of these are signs that we've been domesticated, and part of that is their ability to control our fleshly desires. And it puts us into a state of fight, flight, and fornicate, where we're only able to focus on the very base human
It's after this light.
survival skills.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at. So I always try to get with Mike, like, why we have to reject alcohol and why we have to reject... Oh, it's past this light.
Yeah, it's past this light.
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening to you.
No,
I'm yapping too
why
much.
we have to reject alcohol is what you were saying.
Yeah, that's how we were talking about this morning.
Yeah.
It's just like how destructive alcohol is. So it just desensitizes to all of these realities. Why do we pay to live on a planet where our Creator gave it to us for free? We are completely blessed that He has already paid the debt with His blood. The game is, all we have to do is walk into it.
Yeah.
Do you understand it from
Yeah.
like a strategy, like just like, you know, when you had walked onto a hockey team the first time and you're
Yeah.
like on a team where you're wearing a jersey for the first time, it's like a rite of passage.
Yeah, yeah.
And you don't want to let your team down.
right.
Do you know what I mean? Like if somebody on your team gets attacked, you go to blows. Like,
Right.
well, that's how sports is, because it's a very tribal thing. But that's not that way in church. You know what I mean? As soon as you take the church people and put them out into a community,
Not this next street, the one after. About where that white truck is. Right.
yeah, I gotcha.
Diana.
All of that tribal, the discernment, the survival instinct. We've entirely lost our instinct for survival, and besides, conforming in it, I got to work every day.
Yeah.
That's kind of like, I know I need
It's
groceries.
a survival system that we're in.
Yeah, and you just just always kind of breaking even, hoping
Yeah.
not to go in debt if you work hard enough.
Spinning the wheels.
Yeah, and it's all money. It's
Yeah.
and nobody talks about it, and it just makes you want to pull your hair out. So you have to make provocative titles like this in order to get people to come out of their doldrum just to pay attention, to smack them like, oh, this might be awesome.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, we're saying it's evil, but then it's going like, what's more evil? If you have sex with a woman before marriage, or and then potentially disease and a pregnancy and an abortion, where a human being is dying, which I was part of that evil. Even wishing that evil on my own family and recommending it to what became my cousins.
Yeah.
And they're awesome. But I was so far to the evil side that I was rooting for one of my friends that got one of my cousins pregnant. I went on the side of my friend because he was in my girl chasing tribe.
Yeah. He was
And
the-
sports.
the
We played
conqueror and
sports
slave.
and,
Yeah.
So it's really a mess, right? It's a big mess. So the whole point is to get out of it. Come hang out with guys being guys, and no girls. Yeah, no girls, just guys. And let's get tribal. Let's go see Tribal Seed,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, on the 17th. of
Tribal
March.
Seed. Brett Favre's going to be there. It's going to be awesome.
Oh, yes.
They're both evil, having sex, and ultimately our goal is to get tribal, because in a tribal society, it's religious. Giving away your children, giving away your daughter is a religious right, and giving your son away to service into society is they call it a rite of passage.
Yeah.
Right? Within the rite of passage of the Hebrew tribes is at age 20, now you're able to be a judge. It's kind of like being a sergeant in the military.
Small army, yeah.
Yeah, and a militia.
Yeah.
Basically, and the units are the same as a militia. It's 50, 100, 1,000. 50, 100, 1,000. I missed one. No, 10. 10 is a sergeant. Yeah, 10, 50, 100, 1,000. So anyway, if all of the men know that, and imagine you went through that, and you learned as much as you know about hockey as you know about that. Because that's what hockey does. It takes you in, like, you can play it and like you learn how to check and score and pass and all that. One touch, that's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
So because I played soccer, so I know one touch.
Yeah.
It's kind of very similar.
Yeah.
But anyway, like, you learn a vernacular, you learn the rules, you learn like the traditions and the different events, and being a Hebrew guy, part of the Hebrew tribe is there's 7 feasts. And at the feast, you're supposed to hang out and be with your tribal bros. These are your bros, man. These are the guys you fight with
Every day. Yeah.
Right. You set up literally like a perimeter, and you keep all, like, you set up like, okay, we're gonna drill our own well so our kids aren't poisoned anymore. Starting there, we're gonna grow our own food so our children aren't being poisoned anymore, and we can verify it ourselves and not rely upon an organic label. We see it. The judge of 10, that should be his job.
Yeah.
Right? Because 10 people can basically form a self-sufficient society.
Yeah, that's true.
Then you think of like he's a carpenter, Mike is, and you know, you need a carpenter, you need a plumber, you need an electrician, you need some farmers and bread makers and a hempstress.
Yeah.
Right? Like totally go Amish. If you just Amished, like, right? And Mike's done a bunch of work. Like, he's tribal in this community. Like, talk about that.
Yeah.
How many people in this community have you done work for?
Geez, I take care of like 8 yards in my area.
So it's even better. It's ongoing.
Yeah. And I mean, right now it's in the off season. It's not, you're not mowing the grass and taking
Talking
care
about football?
Oh no, just around here.
Brett Favre, I made a joke, man.
Yeah, on the big mower, the John Deere at the stadium. But no, I mean, I take care of yards around here, and I do carpentry work, and I build pools with you. So, I was thinking about this the other day. My one neighbors, they're kind of they went to Florida State and they got their jobs, but they don't really do anything else for anybody else. I mean, they kind of go to work, they just kind of do their thing, but I don't ever see them out helping anybody, like in the neighborhood, or I mean, it's almost like it's all about them, you know, and they don't want to get outside of themselves and kind of help people do other things, you know. So I don't, I just was thinking about, I'm looking at my neighbor's house right now. It just made me think of them, because
that's absolutely, because I'm guilty of that myself. Sometimes, is that I've been doing all this internet stuff because I basically want to record the strategy. Yeah. And so here's the architecture of what needs to be created. Here's how they did us wrong. This is how we unravel it. We get everybody all Amished up and covered up again. And how do you make it practical where it's not so hot in Florida? So you got to think about it, because you're literally you're designing the society so that it's moral in the eyes of the creator, instead of moral in the eyes of the demon infested heathen.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's what we have, is the morality of the heathen. And then it's just like, man, like when I was a teenager, robots, like, all right. Right? I was having sex with my hand. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, robot's
not bad. That's going to be good, I would think.
Yeah. And like, so I'm thinking from the evil, materialistic, sex-infused and teen mind, and 20s and 30s and 40s probably, is how corrupt and how twisted. Do you know, they already have that with like vibrators and stuff like that. I think they have fake vaginas and like
all
just
kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah, like in Tampa, there's like sex stores, which I've gone to.
Yeah, there's a ton of them. Yeah.
But I'll never do that again, right? Because now I understand about like that hyper focus on all of that carnality is weaponry to destroy ourselves.
Yeah.
Just like gambling.
Right.
Or the NFL, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's hard to give up like football.
Right.
You know, it's like it's hard to quit because you have so much. It's like you got to go play sports to replace that.
Yeah.
And it gets increasingly hard when you get older. Yeah. But you can still do it.
True.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I still skate, but I can't play in anything competitive right now. I mean, I could if I did it enough, but I don't.
Yeah.
I don't have the time. I have to do.
You make time, man. That stuff's
the evil
fun.
Money, man.
What's more fun than that, though?
Not much. No, I'm just kidding. There's plenty of things. Just like you were talking about, playing with your son, sword fighting, and hanging out in the field. You know, that stuff's. That's stuff you know. As you get older, you realize how valuable that is.
You know how like the times when you're little and you're just playing, and you're like playing with your friends, and it's like you have this window where you get off of school, but you hate school, but you get to go play football or hockey or whatever it is until it gets dark.
Yeah.
And you're still playing even though it's dark because you're having so much fun.
Yeah.
Right? And that's literally all Yah's asking us to do, is to go back that it says in order to enter the kingdom of heaven, you must make your eyes again like a child. You have to look at the world as like, if you're a bunch of kids and there are some other kids that were being mean to you're poisoning their water and poisoning their, you would organize. Do you know what I mean? You wouldn't like tell you wouldn't want it to go to your parents sometimes. You just want to organize among your buddies and all, like it's like you back each other up, make sure that if there's gonna be a fight, that both sides it's fair, that nobody jumps in.
Right.
You know, have you gone to fights like that where you're like you're there just to make sure that it's a one-on-one
Somebody else
fight.
Yeah, somebody else is going to get into it, yeah.
Yeah, like in hockey.
We used to fight at the church. That's crazy to think about, you know what I mean? Like, how, you know, like, that's a house of God. And we're like, everybody, let's meet at the church. We'll meet in the parking lot. We'll have this big fight. And just what you were describing, you know, it'd be like you and two of your good buddies, and you're making sure Tim doesn't get jumped by Kevin's friends or whatever, you know, whatever the scenario would be. And I think about it now, I mean, it's insane. It just, like, when you're a kid, you don't have any morals. You know what I mean? You have to be taught them. And if you're not
we had
taught,
a code of conduct, though.
If you're not taught those moral things, you just kind of go off on your own way and you know, get into stuff. But I know, you know, like I remember,
like when we would do fights like that where it was one-on-one, like it was literally that it was like code. It was man code.
Right, yeah.
One-on-one. And you might say something before the fight, like, no, like, this is one-on-one.
Right.
And, like, guys would go, yeah, it's good.
Right.
Right. And it was just like, I'm thinking just like hockey.
Yeah.
Hockey's basically like that.
Similar.
It's built in, like, what are the rules of fighting in hockey?
Well, you hit the goalie, you're bound to get hit by somebody. It doesn't necessarily have to be the goalie. They're protecting that goalie.
Tribal.
Yeah. Or if there's a player on your team that's smaller, and you're roughing him up just because he's better than you. You know, they're shorter
like
guys
a real
that play.
good skater or whatever.
Yeah, somebody that's really, you know, has a lot of skill. And, you know, of course there's goons that get put on the ice, and they're just out to hit that guy or hurt him so they can take him out of the game so that you can't use that weapon, you know, in your defense.
Yeah, and it's like all of that inside. Like, I'd watch hockey, but I didn't know necessarily exact rules for when the fight.
There's a lot of rules.
It's kind of like you automatically know, okay, it's on. It's like instantly.
Yeah.
It's like guy versus. How does it? Because it's like you throw your gloves off.
Yeah.
You throw your stick down.
Certain things happen. I mean, a guy could hit you in the neck, and that means he's trying to take you out more or less. So that's going to make you try to strike back at him, or you know, then you go into dropping your gloves and fist fighting or whatever. But a lot of it is about, you know, like you said, your code of honor. You know, there's certain things in hockey you just don't do. You don't hit somebody in the neck. It's not part of the game. It's just violence. And sometimes it's guys reacting to not, you know, playing as successfully as they can, or
they're frustrated on the field, so they do cheap shots.
They're frustrated within themselves, you know, and they don't really see it that way, but they're like, ugh, I got to hit this guy. Oh, the referee's not looking. I'm going to hit him cheap. You know what I mean? So next time when he come down, maybe he tries to hit me harder next time, and he gets caught for trying to do something, you know, that's not in the rules.
Yeah, we used to play Ultimate at USF.
Frisbee, yeah, that's a great game.
And we didn't know, like, there was nobody really teaching it, so the rules were real loose.
Yeah.
And so we played that you know, if you're running, that you can have all kinds of hand checking.
Yeah,
and
kind
grabbing
of in basketball, they kind of allow a little bit of that. Same thing in soccer, you know. I mean, to a certain extent.
But in Ultimate now, when they play it, they have a professional league.
Can't touch
anybody,
it's
a non-contact kind of thing.
Yeah.
But so anyway, it's just you kind of learn all this stuff, but in you kind of have to, like, if you got on a field and you never knew what the sport was, but you could stand there and you can kind of figure out what everybody's doing by what they're doing. That's kind of the way what Yah's telling us to do is spend this day of the Sabbath and do nothing.
Right.
And don't spend
no money.
And spend no money.
Yeah.
Don't hang out with anybody that's not spending money. That way you're in a society where everybody is playing.
Yeah.
There's money, nothing is monetized at all. And then you show up to the potluck Sabbath with whatever your tithe is. It's a potluck. You bring something, and the money would just be, you know, Mike would bring 10 pergolas, but he can't. Because he can't bring 10, he writes IOUs. And now you have an inflation-free currency system because he's always paying with he's not paying with a dollar and you don't know how much it's worth. He's paying with a pergola.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And, you know, the lumber guy.
Or a pool.
Or a pool. I'm paying with pools. So for me, it's the same thing. I can do it in the same time generally each time. And that's how you create a society which is not usurped through the money system. It's a so you can have the society with no money, but to make it more easy to barter, basically, now you live in the kingdom of heaven on earth, and you have a demonetized society. It's a total game changer. So That's the good word. They're both evil. We have a way better option with Debt Cancellation and Yas Kingdom. Any final words, Brett Favre?
No. March 15th through 17th, Reggae Rise Up.
Yeah, get Tribal.
We'll
Come
be
see
there.
Tribal Seeds. And
Come see Tribal Seeds.
what was the lineup?
Oh, for that day?
Yeah, he was saying the lineup.
Tribal Seeds, Trevor Hall, Fortunate Youth, Revolution, Ayatera,
Yeah.
Swazi, and Ja 9.
Yeah.
Well, that should be good.
And if you go to other, like Stick Figure is going to be headliner on
Yeah.
Friday night, and Slightly Stupid on Saturday night.
Yeah.
So it's like a huge
Ziggy Marley will be there.
event. Like, so
good.
come to Florida. We have space at my place even. So send me a private message. Adios.
Yeah.